which has to do with this operation that the Israelis launched in Jenin, a hospital today. What do you have any comment on that? Is this something that you think is problematic, or is it something that you look at with envy? Like this is some kind of great Mission Impossible mission that we wish that we could also do?
So I'd say that we strongly urge caution whenever operations have the potential to impact civilians and civilian installations. That, of course, includes hospitals. We do recognize the very real security challenges Israel faces and its legitimate right to defend its people and its territory from terrorism. Israel, of course, has the right to carry out operations to bring terrorists to justice, but those operations need to be conducted in full compliance with international humanitarian law.
Well, do those operations include going into hospitals and murdering people in their beds, regardless of whether they're they are suspected or even known terrorists?
So,
is that okay with you guys?
So there was a lot in the premise of that question. Obviously, we did know that they went into.
Well, you don't think that they went in and killed complete people who were completely innocent.
So let me say that
if you did think that, then you would be condemning it, right?
We certainly would, but I would say that Israel has said that these were Hamas operatives. They have said that one of them was carrying a gun at the time of the operation. So I'm not able to speak to the facts of the operation. You'd have to pass some kind of legal judgment, know all of the facts of the operation. But as a general matter, they do have the right to carry out operations to bring terrorists to justice, but they need to be conducted
including in a hospital.
So we want them to conduct their operations in compliance with international humanitarian law. We would generally say that we don't want them to carry out operations in hospitals, but under international humanitarian law, hospitals do lose some of their protections if they are being used for the planning of terrorist operations, for the execution of terrorist operations.
The actual hospital building does, but I mean, going in disguised as women and doctors and whatever is something different, and then going in and picking out people in particular rooms and particular beds and killing them seems to be something different.
So again, not able to offer an assessment without knowing all these facts. I said some of the facts that have been presented by Israel are that one of them was carrying a gun and that they were planning to carry out or to launch terrorist operations. So you would have to look at all of those facts to make a specific assessment about this operation. But in general, we do want to see hospitals protected. It is important that no civilians were harmed in this operation. And as I said, we do believe Israel.
How do you know that?
There have been no reports of civilians who have been harmed in this operation.
Can I follow up on this, please?
Go ahead, Saeed.
Actually, on both points, but on this particular one, I mean, Israel occupies the whole West Bank. They are under their control. They don't need to disguise themselves as medics and go into a hospital and kill people, which he called non-civilians. They are actually civilians, but that's beside the point.
So that is very much. But hold on.
Just allow me just to
no, sorry, but before you call someone a civilian that Israel has said is a member of Hamas, I need to put on the record that is very much a question that's in dispute.
There are civilian members of Hamas. It's a political organization. I mean, you may disagree with their politics, but that does not make them militant.
I would very much disagree with that. They're a terrorist organization, as have been designated by the United States of America.
But that's an accusation of the occupier, a military occupier. They are making the accusation. I want to ask you, is that a conduct befitting a state or a group of gangsters to go in and kill people, assassinate them as they sat in their bed? Is that the conduct of the state? Will the United States ever do something like this under similar
circumstances? I am going to first of all note for the record, because it is important to note for the record, that Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that carried out the brutal murder of 1,200 people on October 7th, and there are members of Hamas, and there are members of Hamas in the West Bank.
Right.
And in addition to carrying out the brutal murder of 1,200 people on October 7th, has hid behind civilians in Gaza, and been responsible for the death of many, many Palestinian civilians who they use as human shields. So, before we talk about the people who died in this operation, I think it's important to talk about who Hamas is. And it is not a political organization, Hamas. It is a terrorist organization that has carried out terrorist acts to kill civilians, and has said it wants to continue to carry out those terrorist acts over and over again. And that context is important because Israel has the right to carry out anti-terrorism operations
Right.
to bring members of Hamas to justice. But as I said, we want them to be carried out in Saeed, let me finish, in full compliance with international humanitarian law.
I'm asking you, is this a conduct befitting a state that controls every single person in that whole territory?
We think it is appropriate that they have the ability to bring members of Hamas to justice.